Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the final part of the four-part Halloween special here on Movie Goodness, where we celebrated throughout the month of October this year, Halloween, and one of my favorite times of the year. And we have arrived to that very day. It is Halloween, or at least it will be in a couple of days at the time of this recording, but happy Halloween anyways. But yes, I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is a look back on my favorite horror movies of 2025. So far, there's still a couple of horror movies left this year, but couldn't wait. Couldn't wait, and they didn't release them before Halloween, which is mind-boggling to me. But it is what it is. I'm pretty confident in the few movies that I have picked out as my favorites. Now, this isn't a review. I'm not going to review any of these movies because the majority of these films I already reviewed. Just go on the channel and you can find the reviews of these horror films or others that may not have made this list. But I thought it might be fun, being as though Halloween's coming up, that you might want to stay home, pop in some movies, don't know what movies to watch. And so I'll give you some suggestions in case you haven't seen these movies that you can stay home and watch. Even though I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there aren't homebodies like myself who just choose to stay at home. I'm not going to dress up and go to any parties. And especially this year, I know that a lot of people are probably going to go out because Halloween falls on a Friday night. Oh, man. We're going to make this stretch the whole weekend. They're going to act a fool out there. I get it. I get it. If I was 20 years younger, probably. 25 years younger, maybe. But now, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just going to stay at home and watch me a scary movie or two and enjoy the festivities that way. I must say that 2025 has been a very impressive year as far as horror is concerned. I think we got some bangers of horror films to come out this year. And not just your typical slasher vampires or your typical monsters or ghost stories or whatever the case may be. We got different perspectives. We got different takes on genre properties. We got a vampire film that was set during the Jim Crow era. We got a ghost story told from the perspective of a dog. We got a ghost story told from the perspective of a ghost. We've seen different versions of these genre films this year, and I've enjoyed a lot of them. I thought that this was, or still is, we still got a couple of months left in this year, one of the best years of horror. I think this is kicking off a new era of horror. And I hate to say kicking off because we've gotten a taste of different horror films over the past few years. Get Out and Us and, with Jordan Peele and things of that nature. We've got different views of horror films before, but never in an abundance like we did in 2025. This has been such a good year. And what makes it so great is the fact that they've been good. It wasn't like these are in the clearance bin at Walmart type movies. No, these were really good movies. Good enough, in fact, that you may hear a couple of these titles mentioned around award season. Don't be shocked if you get that get that notification or look at the nominee list, early next year. It would not shock me at all. But that's besides the point. Let's jump into my list. This is my list of some of the best horror films of the year and some of the best films to watch on Halloween night of 2025. Let's begin. Let's begin with some honorable mentions. These are films that they aren't bad movies, and I really wouldn't consider them horror in a couple of cases, but these are films that I think uh worthy of being mentioned this year amongst some of the good horror films, and is a good sit home watch. Beginning with Bring Her Back. This is a film that stars Sally Hawkins. Is directed by the same directed team that gave us Talk to Me a couple of years ago. Or was that last year? Either way, this film, it wasn't scary, but it was definitely creepy. It creeped me out. I I wasn't expecting to be creeped out as much as I was, and it tells a deeper story, like all the most horror films does, but it does a good job of it, and it's a good watch for Halloween night. I think it's really good, well made. One of the best performances you're gonna see all year from Sally Hawkins. Uh, yeah, worthy of a watch. Worthy of the watch. Another honorable mention is a film that I randomly saw, and I can't even remember where I watched. I know I watched it at home. It must have been on Shudder or something. But Clown in the Cornfield, and I knew nothing of this movie. I didn't even know what this was about, other than a clown, and I had fun with it. It's one of those, kind of throwback horror films that you probably would have caught in the mid '80s, and it was a good watch. I really did enjoy it. It got a little convoluted at the end, but it's good. It is good. It's a good watch. Has some really cool kills in it, you know, and yeah, I had a good time with that movie. And my final honorable mention would have to be Presence. Presence is a horror film directed by Steven Soderbergh. Yes, Magic Mike and the Ocean 11 films, and what was the one with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez? I can't think of the name. It's escaping me right now. But anyway, he directed this quote unquote ghost story, and I didn't know what to expect from this either. And when I went to see it, I, went in blind. I knew going in it was supposed to be from the ghost perspective. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Never seen that before. How are they going to tell this story? And Steven Soderbergh, excellent director, found a way to tell this story from the ghost perspective. And it's not a wow type of movie. It isn't a movie that you're gonna write home and tell your mom about after you've seen it. As a matter of fact, I after I left from watching it, I didn't even review it, because it was nothing there, it wasn't bad, but it was just really nothing to talk about, but it's still, I still feel that I left there a better person for some just because I watched it. Just because I was there, it has that feeling. But as far as the movie as a whole, it's pretty forgettable at the end of the day. But it was a good movie. I can't. It's hard to explain. I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself all over the place, and I get it. I'm hearing myself it's, as I talk, but it's just something you have to watch. You have to watch it to understand where I'm coming from. You will be enjoying the movie while the movie's going on, but once you get up out your chair and walk away, pretty much everything that you felt will stay where it's at. that's where I'm at with it. Good film while you're watching it, completely forgettable after the fact. That sums it up pretty much. But I think it needs to be celebrated for the simple fact that we told this ghost story from this perspective. And yes, I enjoyed it immensely. All right, let's get into the real list of movies to watch this Halloween. And speaking of different perspectives, let's jump into the Big Daddy, and that'll be Good Boy. Good Boy is a film that, once again, went into it pretty blind, not knowing what to expect from it. Knew that it was being told from a perspective of a dog. Once again, how? how how? And I didn't know that this movie would have me emotional at the end. I was truly emotional at the end of Good Boy. It really touched me, and so well made. And it needs to be celebrated to the highest level. I did a review on it, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's amazing. It took 4 years to make this movie. 4. Because you're telling a movie about a dog, you know, and you had to get all of these shots, and I'm pretty sure that the director was pulling his hair out, trying to get this movie made for 4 years, and he finally did, and it was worth the wait, man. That all that hard work paid off, in my humble opinion, if that matters at all. It was great. I really enjoyed Good Boy. It wasn't super scary. It did have a couple of jump scares that actually made me jump, and I often mention that when I'm reviewing horror films, because it takes a lot to make me jump in movies, because normally I can tell when the jump scare is coming. And so when you can catch me off guard, you did a good job. And it had a couple of jump scares in this film that truly caught me off guard, and I gotta tip my hat to him for that. Yes, Good Boy is a great film to watch. Another good movie that once again caught me off guard was came out earlier this year, and that was Heart Eyes. And Heart Eyes is kind of a Scream ripoff of a film, and is in that little bubble of genre films where this mass killer, he's killing the couples on Valentine's Day and whatnot. It's silly. It is really silly, but it's good. I have fun with it. It's kind of in the vein of Happy Death Day and what's the other ones from Christopher Landon? His style, and I think he wrote this. You could kind of feel that vibe from it, from his films, but it was really good. It was funny and yet scary at the same time, and had a great time with it. Completely shocked me. I thought it was just gonna be a whatever movie, but I was I was amazed by how good it actually was. Hard Eyes is on that list, a good movie to watch. The Monkey. The Monkey is Osgood Perkins' follow up to Long Legs, and Long Legs last year was like boom. I know there's a little division there with a lot of people with Long Legs, but I'm on the side of I thought it was awesome. I super enjoyed Long Legs. And so for him to dive into the world of Stephen King and make this film, oh man, sign me up. And I for the most part, I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, but I also think about Stephen King films as a whole. None of them, none of them are perfect, especially when it comes to the end of those movies. The end of a Stephen King novel and or film aren't, they don't particularly stick the landing. And so I gotta really tread softly when I want to bash a Stephen King adaptation. But this is really good. This was good. I love Theo James in this movie. He was I, I didn't know Theo James was that funny, and he was funny. This has more comedy than horror, but the horror moments were there. Now, the knocks I have on the film, like I said, the ending was just not executed well. The movie felt rushed at times, and it just basically felt like a Final Destination with ripoff whenever the monkey did his thing. So I didn't appreciate that. I didn't like that about it, but it's an interesting premise, and it did have some pretty gory deaths in it. That's the sadist in me, I guess. I don't, I gotta have the gore in horror movies. It's gotta happen. But anywho, moving on to our next film to watch on Halloween night. If you are with your missus or your mister and y'all want to watch a movie together, watch Together. Yeah, Together. A film that stars James Franco or Dave Franco, his brother, and his real life wife, Allison Brie, as a couple. And so they didn't have to stretch their acting abilities too much here. There was natural chemistry, of course, between these two, but this was a good movie. Really, really good movie. I've seen it twice. I really like this film and what it tells, the story it tells, and the journey that these two individuals go on throughout the film, and the body horror. Oh my god! Oh my god! It still gives me the EBGBs. Thinking about some of the some of the things that you see in this movie. It's not for the faint of heart, and I probably wouldn't recommend you eating while watching certain scenes. But yeah, it is freaky. It is a freaky movie. But for anything, the terror that Allison Brie and Dave Franco are going through in this movie, it is scary, man. And they did a great job of acting, especially Allison Brie. I think she stole the movie, if that's possible. I mean, she's pretty much the co-lead, but man, it did a number on me. It really did a number on me. That's a movie to watch this Halloween season. Another one, I gave it a second chance. When I first watched it, I was a little let down. Well, that's a lie. I was a lot of let down. I did not enjoy it the first go arounds. I decided to watch it again. Still didn't quite get there, but it did get a little better the second go around with the film. And I'm talking about 28 years later. 28 years later, Danny Boyle returning, Alex Garland returning to tell the story that they began with 28 days later. And I'm like, okay, this can't go wrong. Well, it did go wrong. It did go wrong. And so when I first watched it, like I said, didn't too much care for it. But then I thought about it. I was like, well, they're telling a broader story. We already know that you're getting the sequel in a couple of months, I think. I think in January. The second one comes out. So it isn't a completed story. And I was looking at it through in a box, I was looking at it, with the gaze of they're telling one story here, and that wasn't it. So it was open ended. And that's what frustrated me. So when I watched it the second time with all of that really playing in my mind while I'm watching it, I kind of enjoyed it a little more. Pretty sure on the third viewing, I'll probably enjoy it again, just a little bit more. So I'm willing to surrender the fact that this movie is better than what I'm giving it credit for. It had some really good scenes, really good moments in this movie that, I mean, I can't give it horrible, horrible review, but Yeah, man, there was some real frightening moments here, especially when you get to the infected. Uh, you know, that's frightening. That is, yeah, I can't even think about that. But yeah, this was a good movie. It was good, and I acknowledged that in my initial review when the movie came out. It was good, you know, but it just wasn't what I wanted in particular. But it's growing on me on each viewing going forward. So uh, maybe I got that one wrong. Maybe, but I don't think I'm too far off there. But in any event, yeah, 28 days later, another good watch on Halloween night. Bone Lake. Yeah, Bone Lake. Once again, didn't know what I was expecting. Didn't know what I was getting. Didn't know anything about the movie. I thought it was a throwaway movie and got more than what I was bargained for. I got a actual couples therapy movie disguised as a horror film or vice versa, however you want to take it. But this was a good movie, man. It really caught me off guard yet again. I love that. If you can't tell, I love being caught off guard. You know, I love being shown something that I thought was going to be something else in a good way. You know, normally I'm caught off guard in going in the other direction, like thinking it was going to be good and it ended up sucking. But no, man, this was really, really good. Well made. Uh, Real great twist in it. It had a really good twist that you kind of figure out midway through, but it's still the rollout of it was it. They took their time with it and hit you with it, and when they hit you with it, and things go berserko at the end, it's earned. It is it is very much earned. It's not gory or bloody for gory and bloody sake. It is really earned, and it's one of the best horror films of the year, honestly. So if you ever get the chance to check out Bone Lake, go check out Bone Lake. It is really good. I mean, tops. It's I'm telling you, it's tops. Definitely a breath of fresh air in the horror genre. Speaking of breath of fresh air, not only in the horror genre, but for this franchise altogether, we reached the top three films of the year or horror films of the year. Coming in at number three, Final Destination Bloodlines. Awesome. Awesome. I have nothing else to say. It was awesome. It was. Uh, Now, to be completely honest with you all, I'm a huge fan of this franchise, whether it's a guilty pleasure or I'm just sick in the head, whatever you want to say. Fine, that's what I am, and this is what it is. Bloodlines was awesome. This, with no pun intended, was new blood in this franchise that it desperately needed, man. Because the franchise, even though we hadn't received a film in about what 7 years or something like that for Final Destination, and it kind of left off on a little sour note because the last one wasn't all that good. Everything was starting to get repetitive. Well, everything was repetitive about the Final Destination. Same old, same old. They're at an event of some sorts, whether it's a race, car race, or amusement park, or whatever the case. They get a premonition, and uh, everybody dies. They wake up and save everybody, and death comes after the people they save. Okay, same premise in every single movie. Stale. It was stale. So, how do we inject some life into this franchise? Well, let's do Bloodlines. And this was such a smart, genius way to do that. That alone, the synopsis alone made it awesome. And then when you watch the movie and the execution, no pun intended, it was even awesomer. I mean, come on, man. Survivor survives. They they survive for a while to the point that they have kids and grandkids. So now death is after that entire bloodline because they're not supposed to be here. And so they're taking out the entire bloodlines of these survivors. And uh, the deaths, man, the deaths were so brutal. And man, it was just, it just fit the franchise. Now, is it silly bubblegum? Yes, man. Some of the stuff in here is some. A lot of the stuff here is ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Man, I had such a good time with Bloodlines. I it's one of the best. It's one of the best horror films of the year. It is definitely one of the best in that franchise altogether. Great watch for Halloween night. Coming in at number 2 is Sinners. Yeah, Sinners is a horror film, ladies and gentlemen. It is a horror film. You have vampires in here. I mean, come on, but it's and the KKK. That's more horrifying than the vampires. So yeah, man, this is Ryan Coogler just playing with his food at this point. He's just messing with us. Like I'm the greatest current filmmaker alive, and I can't even argue that. This is awesome filmmaking. One of the most beautiful films to hit the silver screen this year, and one of the best acted, one of the best stories to be told. And you know what blows my mind? You keep hearing From Dusk Till Dawn ripoff when you hear the description of this movie. From Dusk Till Dawn couldn't hold Sinner's jock strap. And this is coming from somebody who absolutely loves From Dusk Till Dawn. But those are two different movies. The only similarity is that they both take place in a club. Other than that, there's no similarities. There's no similarities. And vampires, okay, whatever. But no, there's no similarities. Two different stories altogether. And this was, I don't know, man. Now this I can definitely see being mentioned around awards time, if not for the costume design, cinematography, uh, maybe a couple acting nods, or hey, maybe even Ryan Coogler as director. This was really really good. Honestly, I I've seen it 3 times, no 4. I've seen Sinners 4 times. It is that good. It's one of those films that I watched that hasn't lost its magic, you know, from the first time I watched it. Normally it starts to get stale, after the second or third viewing, but it hasn't as of yet, for me. So Sinners is a really, really good watch. Is very bloody, very gory when the vampires unleash hell. So it is definitely a horror film to watch on Halloween night. And my number 1 horror film of the year is a no-brainer. Even though it doesn't have, well, that's a lie. It does have gore. It does have gore. And when it does, it does. I don't know why I was about to make that stupid statement. Because it has one of the goriest, bloodiest scenes you ever want to see in the history of film. Because it involves children. And that is none other than Weapons. Weapons is my favorite horror film of the year. Actually, my favorite film of the year so far. I love Weapons. And yes, it is a horror film for the simple fact, yeah, there's a witch involved in it, but also the fact that your kids just come up missing. And as a parent, that's like the greatest fear of fears. To wake up one morning and your child's bed is empty and you'd have no earthly idea what happened. No, you have, and not just you, everybody's kids, at least in this particular classroom, that involves this teacher. Now everybody's pointing at this teacher, and there's so many, twists and turns. You don't know who to suspect or what's the reasoning behind everything. Well written, and excellently acted. Everything about this movie is pretty much perfect for me. And this is another one seen 3 times, and I don't know if I honestly can't find a flaw in this movie. I cannot find a flaw. The only flaw I would say about this film, and is a nitpick, is that's why I don't really count it as a flaw, is the fact that the other parents you don't see them. You only see Josh Brolin going ape crazy about searching for his kid, but the other parents not so much. And I never understood that. that that just didn't sit right with me. But I know that we were telling a singular story from a different perspective, from each character's perspective. So we don't know what the other parents were doing, but it just didn't. It could have been explained away in like 1 or 2 scenes that other parents are running around, investigating just like Josh Brolin's character was, but we didn't get that. But that's my only nitpick. And did it hurt the movie? No. Would it have helped the movie? No. It was just something I wanted to see. But I could care less, really, because this movie is awesome, excellent, and is a good Halloween watch. And yes, that final scene is the goriest, most unexpected, bloody scene that I have seen in a film in a very long time. And like I said, involves children, so that was even a shock on top of a shock. But that's the list of films that I suggest for viewing this Halloween night: Weapons, Sinners, Final Destination, Bloodlines, Bone Lake, 28 Years Later, Together, The Monkey, Hard Eyes, Presents, Bring Her Back, and Clown in a Cornfield. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's my list for Halloween watches for this Halloween night. I want to wish you all a happy Halloween, a safe Halloween. I hope everybody is doing well, happy, and just enjoying life, not paying attention to foolishness that may be around them, but concentrating on the good things and have some fun. And this is a holiday that's designed to have fun. You can dress up and just play with your friends in a good way. So everybody have fun, be safe this Halloween season. Thank you for joining me for this part 4 edition of 2025's Halloween special. And if you have supported the show throughout this Halloween special, and I'm talking about for all 4 parts of this show, as well as our other shows here on the KB Radio Network, thank you for all of your love and support of the show. All I ask is you continue to support the show and tell a friend or two about the KB Radio Network. And you can send love as well. You can email the show, kbradionetpodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this edition of Movie Goodness as we celebrated Halloween. Be safe, be good, and as always, I love you. Continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.